This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm here talking with David Essel. This guy has never, ever quit achieving or bettering himself too, because he's a fanatic personal improvement and improvement never ends kind of guy. So this is fun to talk to him. Dave, how you doing today?
Mitch, it's great to be back with you. Doing good, really good as a matter of fact.
Well, today we're going to be talking about alcohol or alcoholism and the AAA personality. In the circles that we run in, I see a lot of really high-strung people, being one of them. If you think I'm high-strung right now, you should have seen me about 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, people in my whole life have always thought I was on speed or cocaine or something because they just figured you had to be like this guy. I wasn't. You know, in high school, on Friday days before the big game, and I played high school running back for our high school, and football was a big deal in Texas, and I'd be walking up down the halls, and every doper in the school would be saying, "Hey, you know, you got what you need, you got your speed," because everybody figured I took speed before I played football, and I didn't, and I never did, and I never have. I just always told them, you know, I got along with everybody. The ropers, the dopers, the kickers, it didn't matter. And I just said, no, man, I got it handled. I never told them yes, and I never told them no. I just let them believe what they wanted to.
Yep.
Same thing in my life. So I guess the point is, there are these people that talk fast, run fast, play hard, and a lot of times there's this little addiction that we don't see sneaking up on us. It's called alcohol because it's so acceptable and it's so what we do. As a matter of fact, in Texas, when I got my driver's license in 1970, whatever, the driving position was 10 o'clock and beer 30 because right. You could drink and drive in Texas when I got my license. You know, it was not unusual at all to see grown men hand their 7-year-old son a beer. Here, have a sip. They'd have a sip of beer. It's not unusual at all to have it at the picnic table. As a matter of fact, at my school on Friday night, the teachers and the coaches would all come over to where our parents and I were, and we would all have kegs and we would all drink together. You couldn't do it today to save your life. It'd be a front page news, you know, but it was different. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. I want to know also about your, not just psychological background, but a lot about give us some bullet points of your life.
Mitch, for the last 40 years, I've been in the industry of personal growth as a counselor, a life coach, a best-selling author. I'm even a minister. This past weekend, I just came back from speaking to a huge congregation in the state of Florida. And I love giving sermons. I have an absolute blast doing that. So my whole world, though, is in the world of personal, motivation, inspiration, helping people to overcome roadblocks and more. Also, we talk about that A personality. Oh my God, I am right there, type A to the 100 degree. And what we've found over the years, and what I found, is that most of us who have a really high motor, that we're really type A, is that there's a lot of us that struggle with addiction. Mine began at 12. A lot of us begin very, very young. And it was 30 years of struggle, battle, trying to break it, trying to get rid of it. And all along, Mitch, as a successful business person such as yourself, there were these messages being given to me by my friends, by society, that successful men drink, successful men create more business over drinks with other successful men. This is how we relax. It's you work 10, 12 hours days. We deserve it. Mitch, that's a big one.
Heaven forbid you can't watch a football game without drinking,
Oh, heck yeah, or go to a game without drinking. And I was like that for years and years and years and years until one day there was just this shift within inside me. There was several major things that happened in my life, but I never got in trouble, Mitch. I never got a DUI, never got in trouble with the law. There was no outside pressures, a judge saying you have to go to rehab. But there are a couple things that happened in life that continued to wake me up. I knew I had an issue. It wasn't like a surprise. Oh, that's weird. You have an issue. I just didn't want to deal with it, Mitch. And so I found all these ways to justify it for years and years and years until finally I said enough is enough. The change was difficult, but probably one of the greatest changes and one of the greatest successes that I've ever had in life, quite frankly, is getting sober.
In all transparency, I've been drinking since the 7th grade. For the longest time in the 7th grade, weekends were for getting that 12-pack of tall boys and seeing how many of them you could drink until you started giggling and laughing and doing whatever you did. Today, I don't think I would raise my kids that way, but I'm not faulting my parents because I just don't think they really knew. And a lot of the people that I know that I grew up with didn't make it, or they're having a very difficult time because of it. It was cool at the time. I once read something. It said, be careful about the choices you make really early because they're going to become habits that are going to be very hard to drop late in the game. And they progress. All these things progress. So I've been drinking for my whole life. I have learned to be very happy and funny drunk because when I was not a happy and funny drunk, people wanted me to stop drinking. So I learned how to make sure that didn't happen. I've seen people in huge denial over alcoholism. And then there's people like me and like you, who knows there's an issue, and me, just like you. I've never gotten a DWI. It never stopped me from going to wake up in the morning and do my job. My firm rule was if you were going to dance, you had to pay the fiddler. If you were going to stay up all night and drink and party, that was no excuse. You got your ass out of bed at whatever time you always did, and you go and you did whatever it is you always do, as painful as it might have been that day, or ineffective as you might have been, even though you thought you were out there doing it. So I'm here to talk about this subject. This isn't like a normal subject for this podcast, but we see so much of it in this entrepreneurial business, any kind of entrepreneurialism, because a lot of the people that start these businesses are high strung. They're AAA personalities. And so I thought if we help one person make a decision here or change something, then this is going to be a worthwhile podcast. And if this is not for you, go ahead and tune out and we'll see you tomorrow. This is kind of a community service thing, I guess. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about it personally myself because my issues are ongoing too. I will say this. One of the hardest things to learn to do for me, and one of the things that woke me up, was I would go to the Christmas party and get pretty happy. And then I would make promises to business people that I woke up in the morning and wish I didn't. And I really sit in the mirror and slap my forehead and go, why in the hell did I make that commitment? But the important part to me was it didn't matter if it was right or wrong. I did not renege. I followed through with what I said. I learned not to talk that level of business at the Christmas party a long time ago. So where do we start with this subject? First of all, where are you sitting at physically? Where are you at in the world?
I'm in the state of Florida, if that's what you mean. Yeah,
you're in the state of Florida. Were you a surfer guy?
No, but I get asked that question all the time, Mitch. People think I'm from California. Swear to God.
Like you could be a surfer guy. Tell us about your first idea that maybe I'm going to contemplate this idea of not drinking anymore.
It usually comes after a series of hangovers. That's usually how most of us finally, when we have one after another, and we finally wake up one day and say, okay, this is enough. But really with me, there was two incredibly important times in my life that woke me up to the fact that I had an issue. And one was in 1996. And I had an issue, Mitch, with both cocaine and alcohol. And I never missed meetings. I've run my own business for 40 years. I never missed appointments. I never missed a speaking gig. I was never high during my sessions. But the minute 8:01 came in the evening, that's when I started. And I would hit it hard. But I interviewed this guy in 1996. His name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Maharishi was the founder of Transcendental Meditation. One of the most influential people that have ever walked this earth. The guy is incredible, or was incredible. He's passed on. But his form of meditation has literally changed millions of people's lives. But during the interview, Mitch, what came up was we went to a break and we were talking about meditation and relaxation and type A personalities and all these kind of things that you and I are brushing on here. And he said to me, you're a real big fan of positive thinking. I said, yeah. And he said, do you believe in affirmations? And I said, absolutely. He said, what's your favorite affirmation? And I said, I'm David Essel, a child of God, happy, healthy, and sober today. And he said, how long have you been saying that for? And I said, oh my God, 20 years. And he said, is it your reality? Now, this was my first wake-up call, Mitch, because when you say that you're happy, healthy, and sober every day and you drink every night, there's a disconnect somewhere along those two statements. And I lied. I lied to him. And I said, yes, that's my reality. And he said, all of those things you mentioned are who you are. I said, yes. He said, keep saying them. He said, however, if you ever get into a situation where you're repeating positive thoughts or affirmations and they're not true, stop saying them until you do the work and they're true, and then you can start. So we ended the interview and he was awesome. But, it got me thinking, here I am lying to this gentleman. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, I've been saying these affirmations for 20 years and they obviously don't work. So what's the issue here? And the issue is that I was hiding behind positive thinking. It's just like if any of our listeners are with us right now and they say that, I'm going to start my new workout routine. I'm going to start eating clean and healthy Monday. It's Friday night. That's it. I'm going to play this weekend, and then I'm going to start. That's that positive thought process that's absolutely a bunch of BS. So what he did was he called me out in a loving way. He didn't even know he called me out. I mean, he could have known I was lying, but I think I did a good job at convincing him I wasn't. But that was the first thing that said, hey, you've got an issue. This mindset of yours, the affirmations aren't changing a darn thing. You're going to have to get to work. And of all the different things that could have happened to me in life, DUIs and all that didn't, it's interesting, Mitch, that the one thing that woke me up was a simple question by a guest and my answer. And afterwards, realizing I had lied again, it started to move me towards that place of saying, I think I need help. I can't do this alone. And I don't know too many people, Mitch, and I've been an addiction counselor for 24 years now. I don't know too many people that successfully get clean and sober on their own. The percentage is maybe 0.5%. Most people that get clean and sober do it by working with someone like myself or going to meetings. There's a variety of type of recovery programs, Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous. I think they all have pluses and they all have minuses, but doing something when you realize that there's an issue is the crucial movement. That's doing some action step towards sobriety, not thinking it's time to get sober, but actually doing it.
Well, I think the thought of stopping drinking for people who have drank their whole life scares the hell out of them.
Absolutely.
Because they may not even know all the things that are going to have to change, but a lot of things have to change. Now, I've personally gone down through the list because I've started to realize how much time it takes, and not that money's an issue for me, but how much money it takes. More an issue of money because I'm a very giving person. After about the third drink in, I'm a really big giver. I'll buy the whole bar for all night long. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the other main thing is I've noticed people with addictions pick the addiction over more important things in life. You know what I mean? Like way more important things, even though, like you said, they're not getting DWIs or they're not getting out in fights or they're not getting put in jail or anything. They're spending hours upon hours upon hours catering to this addiction, or I'm talking about alcohol, but it could be any addiction, really. One thing, though, I thought about when you go to an AA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous, I mean, you have to, I guess you walk in that room and you say, hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic. And that kind of is counterintuitive to everything I've ever heard about how you're supposed to talk to yourself. Why would you label yourself or brand yourself with that forever? I mean, I'm thinking like if you're a paraplegic and then you stand up and you walk again, you are no longer a paraplegic. Why would you keep telling yourself, hi, I'm a paraplegic, and you're standing there on two legs? Plus the positive way that our brain works with both positive and negative feedback, it seemed counterintuitive. Am I out in left field here? Because I'm not slamming AA. It's helped a lot of people, yeah. I suppose. I mean, I don't even know any statistics on it, but it seems counterintuitive.
Mitch, you're 100% right on. As a matter of fact, we'll just talk statistics. 12-step has been around for 80 years, Alcoholics Anonymous for 80 years. They only have a 10% success rate, which means they have a 90% failure rate. And then you say, why? Well, why do people talk about it so strongly? And why do people always say, well, you need to go to a 12-step meeting, you need to be in an AA meeting, you need to go to the rooms? For the 10% of people it works, don't change a thing. Keep going. If you're happy and you're sober and you go to 12-step meetings, keep going. There's no reason not to. But for the 90% it doesn't work for, one of the reasons is what you just said, Mitch. We know in the past 80 years as being, I was in sports psychology when I first started in the 80s, and then I became just a traditional counselor as well as sports psychology. We know that what you feed yourself, the words that you say to yourself are so gosh darn crucial. So if you drank last night and you went into a meeting today to say, hi, I'm David, I'm an alcoholic, is valid because you just drank last night. It's not out of your system for 72 hours. And you're in a meeting because you have a problem. So the very first time you go in to say, I'm David and I'm an alcoholic, that's not a bad thing. That's
I get that.
Right. But what you said is crucial. So there are people that have been going for 10, 20, 30 years, and every day they go into a meeting, they say, hi, I'm Jim, I'm an alcoholic, and that's insanity.
That just bring up, like, doesn't that just bring the devil right to the front door again? Like every single time you say that, it seemed like at some point you would say, hi, I beat the crap out of this anymore. I don't even want it anymore. I don't like it anymore. And hell, I don't even know why I'm here.
Well, it's funny, Mitch. When I went to meetings when I first got sober, I went 120 straight days because my counselor told me I had to. So I said, okay, I'll do this for you. And in the 120 days, after about the first probably 7 or 8 meetings I went to, I'm hearing it now because I have a background in psychology. I'm listening to these things these people are saying, and I'm saying, this is so wrong. To say, hi, I'm Jim. I've been coming for 20 years and I'm an alcoholic just seemed insane to me. So I'm sitting in the meetings and I'm not happy. And they're going around the room asking people to say your name and to say you're an alcoholic. And we get to this one guy, and I'll never forget, he looked around the room and he said, hi, I'm Phil, and I'm really happy to be here. And I thought, oh my God, what a refreshing answer. You know, instead of people just claiming they're an alcoholic. So afterwards, I pulled him aside and I said, hey, you know, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. And I said, how is it that you have the strength in a room full of 100 plus people that are all saying they're alcoholics? How did you have the strength to say that, hey, I'm just happy to be here? He said, because I'm not an alcoholic anymore. And I go, thank God someone is finally talking common sense. Phil became my sponsor. And what that means is that I met with him once a week and we went over the 12 steps. And at the end of 130 days, he still goes. I see him every once in a while out in public. But he was a guy that broke it wide open for me. So now with my clients, Mitch, doesn't matter where they are in the world. We work with people from all over the world via Skype and other apparatus. And I say to them, they go, is it important to go to a meeting? And I said, let me tell you the one most important concept I believe as a counselor of why the meetings are important, even if you just go once a week, and that is this. When you walk into a meeting, you have to be humble and vulnerable. And those two keys, getting humble and vulnerable, are the things that alcoholics hate to face. We hate to get humble. We hate to say we're wrong. We hate to say we need help. Any addiction in the world, it's the same thing. A food addict, a nicotine addict, a drug addict, an alcoholic, we don't want help. We want to figure it out on our own. And so what I say is when you walk into a meeting and you're just who you are and you sit down and you start talking to people, it takes a lot of strength, Mitch. It took me, you know, someone who's supposedly really confident in life, it took me a lot of strength to walk into my first meeting. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how they worked. It was very awkward. But that is your power. When you surrender and walk in and admit that you have a problem, if you haven't drank in several days, you don't have to say you're an alcoholic. You can say, hi, I'm David and I'm glad to be here. But walking in that room is a really great idea for people that truly want to get sober because you got to be humble to walk in the room.
Hey, man, that's the reason why, you know, you got to keep the Sabbath holy and you got to go one time a day to the church. I mean, because I find that when I go once a day, I'm closer to God. And when once a week, I'm closer than if I don't go for months. I mean, because at least there's that 1 hour of contemplating this one subject and how to put it on and wear it and walk it and all that other thing. You know what I mean? So I certainly get about the meeting. And I want to make something absolutely clear. I'm not bashing Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not. I'm just struggling with the idea because quite frankly, and it's tough for me to say, I've been contemplating giving it up for postponing, you know, for, I don't know, maybe years now. I'm 58 years old now. I've been doing this for a long time. You start to see your mortality. There's a lot of health reasons, but there's a lot of time reasons. There's a lot of good reasons that I can think of why if I never touch the stuff again, it'd be better. I'd be better off for it. So I'm not bashing AA. I'm not. But I've always struggled, or maybe that's my excuse, is that I don't understand walking in there and claiming it every time you walk in there.
When I first went in, I had a real negative attitude about 12-step programs. And my attitude hasn't changed dramatically. It's not like I love them, but I think they serve a purpose. And I think if the purpose is just you admitting that you have an issue and you need help and you're doing it in public, I think that's a great reason to go to at least a meeting a week. The other thing that I say about 12-step that I'm a little concerned with is that when they have these people that they call sponsors, these aren't people that have had, I don't know of any that have had extreme education in updating their knowledge about the power of the mind. And even some other things, Mitch, in our holistic addiction recovery program, we teach a lot, like there's brain chemistry supplements. There are supplements you can take over the counter, no negative side effects, to help decrease cravings for alcohol. There are supplements you can take to increase the function of brain chemistry. Over years, our brain chemistry gets affected by the amount that we drink on a regular basis as well. So when we remove the alcohol in our program, we help people by recommending certain supplements, and some people take 4, 5, 6 supplements a day to help in the recovery process. And then the other thing that people don't think about is low blood sugar. If you have a long space between meals and your blood sugar level drops, we get irritable, we get impatient, we get tired. And when someone has a drink, when their blood sugar levels drop and they reach for alcohol, oh my God, it changes everything in about a minute. You start to feel better. You're not tired anymore. It's incredible. The first 2 drinks are amazing, right? But so what we teach people is one of the ways that we need to decrease the chance of relapse, brain chemistry supplementation, working with a counselor, going to meetings, and then eating every 3 to 4 hours. That keeps the blood sugar levels normalized so that you don't have a craving to drink from low blood sugar levels. So there's all these things that I just talked about right now you'll never hear in a 12-step meeting because they're not.
How old is that thought, the 12-step? You said 90 years?
80 years.
80 years. So certainly what I'm hearing you say is there's been a lot of science developed since then, or realization since then, and they haven't changed it at all. And so you're taking the best of both worlds, what we know today, what we knew yesterday that worked, and then what we know today, and you're putting them together to make, I guess, what you call a holistic approach to alcoholism or beating addiction, any kind of addiction, really, I guess. I think we're speaking specifically about alcohol here today, but if there's any differences, let us know between different.
That's the interesting thing, Mitch. And let me share this with you because this might rock a few people's worlds. There's basically no addiction in the world that's caused by our genetics. And this is a really important point to say. So many people say, well, I have the disease or I have the allergy or I have the gene and it's out of my control. My mom's an alcoholic. My dad was. My grandfather died of alcoholism. But it's all nonsense. It is all complete fallacy. And let me prove it by saying this. If alcoholism was caused by our genetics, then the only way to heal would be through medication or medical intervention. You could never heal a disease caused by genetics via your thoughts or meetings or anything else. Cystic fibrosis is a disease caused by genetics. There's medical intervention. It doesn't mean that person's life's going to be easy, but there is some medical intervention available. Type 1 diabetes is a genetic disease. The child is born with it. Okay, those are genetic causes. No one comes out of the womb unless they're a fetal alcohol baby. And thank God that percentage has dropped dramatically over the years, but no one comes out of the womb craving alcohol, needing alcohol, unless the mom was an alcoholic. But the general birth of a child has nothing to do with alcohol. And so what we find is that, like myself, millions upon millions of people have healed without any medical intervention, without any drugs, without any surgery. So that proves that genetics has nothing to do with the cause of addiction or a cause of alcoholism. Now, to follow that up, there is a gene for alcoholism that I have. You might have it. We have a long family history of addiction. And when I go back, we're talking generations ago, the addiction is passed down, right? So we have a gene. And what does that mean? The gene still does not cause you to go into a bar and to grab a beer, to go into a liquor store and grab a bottle. The gene doesn't have control of your car. It doesn't have control of your hands to pour things in your mouth. But when the gene is activated, let's say you have the gene for alcoholism and you have 4 drinks or you have 3 drinks. If that gene is tripped on, you're going to want to have 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's how we know that you have the gene for addiction. But anyone in the world, and Mitch, it doesn't matter if you're watching this or listening and you're 80 years old and you've been drinking since you were 4, anyone has the ability to beat alcoholism when you're in the right program. There is no gene that can force you to drink when you make a decision that you're going to go in the opposite direction with like the tools that we teach. But people have to get that out of their heads. And just all I ask everyone is to remember this. If genes caused alcoholism, the only treatment would be medical. but we don't have any medical treatment that works in the world of addiction. We have no medical treatment that works. You might find some people that say that they take a certain medication from their doctor and it cut their cravings by 20% or 30%. I can tell you, prior to getting sober, I went to my doctor and we tried every medicine on the market. So I didn't have to go to rehab. I didn't want to go to rehab. I wanted to try anything in the world first. We used every medication, not a damn thing worked, Mitch. And finally, I looked at my doctor one day and I said, I think I'm going to have to actually go do the work. And he laughed and said, it's probably time, David.
I've also heard of people who will their way through this. Someone called themselves a dry drunk, like they were sober in the term of the word, but they were very angry, very not happy. It was working, but it wasn't working at all. It was unsustainable. Either it's unsustainable for them or the people around them would leave, the ones that they loved, because they were unbearable.
Yeah, and you're right. Dry drunk is a serious condition. So and one of the reasons I never mention how long I'm sober is because there are so many people that brag about their length of sobriety, and they have crap marriages, they have crap relationship with their kids, they've got crap attitudes, they've cross-addicted to food or something else. It's like they're not happy at all in life. And that, you're 100% correct, Mitch. That's a dry drunk. And the reason for that is they haven't taken a strong look at the personality traits that they need to work on to change. Those personality characteristics. When you're an alcoholic, you're extremely self-centered. Most of us believe that we know everything to do the right way and no one else knows crap. We have all this attitude issues. We have arrogance issues. We have, I don't need help. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not blah, blah, blah. And then when they get sober, if they don't do the psychological work to become humble and vulnerable and open and honest, if they don't go through the forgiveness for the mistakes they've made in the past, forgiveness of themselves as well as forgiveness of others, then they turn into dry drunks. So they brag about the fact that they're not drinking, but they're not happy people. They're not fun to be around. And to me, that's a waste of time. In 34 years of being an addiction counselor, there was only one client that I worked with that came to me who was a raging dry drunk that I actually fired. He had been sober for 17 years, hadn't had a drink. His wife made him come, or she was going to divorce him because his attitude was so bad. He was emotionally abusive to the kids. He was emotionally abusive to her. And she said to me when she called me on the phone, she goes, David, nothing changed. When he drank, he was emotionally abusive to us. When he got sober, he still was that angry, emotionally abusive man. So she told him that if he didn't work with me, that she was going to divorce him. And Mitch, he came in, and in the first session, I knew it wasn't going to last long. He told me that he didn't need to follow any rules, and he wasn't going to do the homework I gave him, and he wasn't going to read the books I asked him to read, that he was only there for his wife. And if it wasn't for his wife, he wouldn't be there. So I said to him, listen, in my work as a counselor, if clients don't do the homework, I fire them. It's really easy. And your wife told you that if you don't go through the 8 weeks with me, that she will divorce you. So here's your option. If you want a divorce, come in next week without your homework. I will fire you. You will go home and you'll have to tell your wife that I fired you, and then she can make a decision if she wants a divorce. He comes in the next week. He sits down, very smug, very arrogant. I told you I wasn't going to do the work. And I said, okay, this is it. And he started to get belligerent with me. And I said, wait a second. I told you the rules. The rules are you do the homework, you come in, everyone's happy. I don't need to do the homework. I don't need, and he starts screaming all this stuff. And I said, I'll tell you what, I've never said this to anyone, but I'm going to say this to you as you walk out the door. If I were you, on the way home, I'd get a case of beer. I'd go into a spare bedroom. I'd lock the door, and I'd live by myself in my own house. Don't mess with your kids. Don't mess with your wife. Just go get drunk and leave us all alone. Mitch, I've never said that in all my working. I've never told one to go back to drinking. But that guy was so arrogant. He was just such a belligerent individual that there was no way I was going to waste my time with him.
So what did he do?
I never heard from him again. His wife did contact me the next week, and she sent me an email that just said, thank you so much for being so real and honest. Now I have a big decision to make. And I never heard from either of them again of what they did. I am hoping that she had the strength to follow through with her threat, because if she didn't, then he has no respect for her whatsoever. And there's a lot of people too, and I want to make that, I think sobriety is great, but sobriety is not enough. We have to do what's called recovery. So sobriety is simply not drinking. And you had talked about, some people white knuckle it. They get up and go, I'm not going to drink today, and they're that type of attitude. But what we want people to do is to wake up and to be grateful that you're not drinking anymore because, Mitch, the amount of space in your head, I can tell you from my experience, I would wake up in the morning driving to work and go, oh, I wonder if I need to grab another couple bottles of wine tonight. Or if it's a Friday, hey, in case some people come over, I better grab some wine. I mean, my brain was constantly thinking. At 7 o'clock, I'd look at my watch and go, awesome. One more hour of sessions and I can open that first bottle of wine. The amount of space it took up in my head, the amount of energy that I put into making sure I had enough, or if I was going to go to a party to make sure I could have a few drinks at home or on the way to the party, it was just always on my mind. One of the greatest benefits that I've found in my sobriety is the fact that I don't ever think about it. It has never popped back into my head. And I've gone through very stressful experiences. In 2008, I went into foreclosure on multiple homes. Boy, I just really bit the bullet with the big recession back then. But even going through all that and losing everything, I never had the thought this would be a great day to have a drink. That tells you that your recovery program is extremely solid.
Yes, you moved on past it. Like it's not the struggle anymore. It's not what you do anymore. It doesn't pertain anymore. That would be the goal of everyone there, to get to the, if that's what you're trying to do is quit to have those days, like days and months and weeks and years, like, I don't know, never thought about it. Of course, there's so much alcohol everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, there's alcohol. Do you avoid places like that? Or you just walk in and it's just like if someone had a whole bunch of cocaine at a party, I would never walk over there and put my nose in it. I never would. I don't. That's not what I do. When you walk in the bar now?
Well, a great question, Mitch. The first year of my sobriety, I made a decision that, and it worked for me. It worked incredibly well. Not everyone has to do this, but I decided not to go into any facilities, restaurants, bars for the first 365 days of my sobriety. I didn't go out to dinner. I didn't go to weddings. I didn't go to funerals. I didn't go anywhere for 365 days. I wanted to get solid and truly understand the power of sobriety and recovery before I put myself in a situation that I might be tempted. It was the greatest move I ever made, Mitch. It allowed me to focus solely. I never had a temptation in the first 365 days. If people wanted to meet for dinner, I'd say I can only meet for breakfast. My schedule's too busy. So I had a ton of breakfast meetings. My friends that I used to drink with, those that kept calling me and saying, hey, we're going to be at this bar or that bar, I would say, hey, if you want to grab breakfast, you can imagine how that went over, right?
Yeah, like a lead balloon, right? Yeah, breakfast. Yeah. Breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast? Who the hell wants breakfast? They'd say, yeah, at 3 o'clock in the morning at Waffle House, we'll have breakfast with you there, And I found that a lot of those people left my life. I lost 90% of my friends when I got sober. Let's talk about
that. That's got to be a big pressure for people that are thinking about making a change. Some people that they like to be around or enjoy being around, they're probably going to alienate themselves. I quit for a year one time. I found very quickly that when I told people that I wasn't drinking, at this time, they seemed to not think I was any fun anymore. So I quit telling people that I had quit drinking. I told them, get there a little early. I would tell the waitress, here's a 20. When they say another round, my round is soda and lime. Put the straw in it, bring the napkin, make it look like a drink. They're standing in front of you, put your thumb over the bottle, and I don't know, but just let them think I'm drinking. Let me know I'm not. And then the party went on like nothing was going on, and everyone had a great time. The minute someone figured out that I wasn't drinking anymore, they thought I was a dud. I was also first addressed that.
Oh, I think that that's a natural part of any major change in life. If someone decides that they're going to lose 200 pounds and they quit eating, going out for just dessert. I've worked with people that used to have a group of friends. They get together just to go out to restaurants and eat dessert. So when someone says, I need to lose 200 pounds, my doctor says that there's some things going on, I have to be very careful. There's a really good chance that the people that they hang out with who are foodies with them, who are addicted to food, are going to be very disappointed and they could walk away because we don't have that common denominator anymore. Even though I lost 90% of my friends, There was two guys. We just released two new books this week, and we've got a new book coming out in Valentine's Day of 2020. In Valentine's Day, in that book, it's on relationships, and I talk about my two really best friends that when I got sober, supported the hell out of me, Mitch. I mean, one of them, Troy, the minute I got back from rehab, he was texting me every day. How are you doing? Are you staying sober? Can I help you in any way? We used to drink together. And when I came back, he said, I'll tell you what. He goes, let's figure out something else to do once a week when we go out. He goes, but it's not going to be alcohol, obviously. And anytime we go out, I'm not going to drink. And I mean, he was so supportive, and he still is to this day. I just saw him yesterday in the gym, and he goes, you still sober, aren't you? I go, hell yeah. He goes, I'm really proud of you. You know, that's a really great friend. When he said, whenever we go out, if we go out for lunch or anything, I'm not going to drink. If we go out for dinner, because, you know, after that first year, now going to restaurants and everything is not an issue. But he said, if we go out to dinner with a bunch of friends, I'm not going to drink if you're there. That's the kind of beautiful support that real friends will give you. They'll be happy that you've made a choice that is healthier for you. But the people that we connect with, just where our common denominator is drinking, they're probably going to fade away, Mitch.
Also, during that year that I didn't protect, I was trying to prove to myself that I could. Although in a year and 1 minute, my goal was a year. I set the goal. Maybe I should have made a different goal. I set a goal for a year. I made it to my year. A year and 1 minute. It was, hello, Jack. You know, how you doing?
Right.
So I also was worried during that year I was going to lose my creativity. I've been writing songs as a hobby and taking it as serious as I can with my real living of flipping houses. I was worried that maybe that switch would go off, because a lot of times when we wrote songs, you know, the guys would bring their guitars and it would be a 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the morning event. And of course, there was always whiskey and beer and cigarettes and everything. That was how you did it. And so I thought maybe I would lose my creativity, but I did not. As a matter of fact, I wrote as many or more songs during that year. They were quality songs. Now, I don't know if I was just getting better as a writer because I was applying myself, or if my clarity had anything to do with it. But I noticed that I was writing some really good songs during that time as far as my level of songwriting was going. So I didn't lose any creativity. And is that a big fear among people?
Yeah, I think a lot of individuals fear that they're going to lose everything, that they're going to lose their joy, their fun, how they relax. They're going to lose creativity. As a matter of fact, when I look at, and we've written 11 books now, when I look at the books that I wrote when I was drinking versus the last 5 books that I've written sober, it's amazing, Mitch. I mean, my writing improved so dramatically. I had total clarity in my brain. There wasn't a day that I woke up feeling a little slow. There wasn't a day I woke up ever obviously hungover because I wasn't drinking anymore. And my ability to write books, and this is mind-blowing, and especially to people that if you've ever tried to write a book, the last book I wrote in 2 days, Mitch. It was 16 to 18 hours. I wrote an incredibly deep, intense book in 2 days. That's the one coming out in Valentine's Day of next year. And I never could have gotten myself into that mindset had I been drinking. The book before that, I wrote in 7 days. The book before that, I wrote in 30 days. So what I'm finding is that my creativity is increasing dramatically over the years.
It's not just the creativity, the time. Look at the time you're substituting time. When you go out to watch a game and drink with your friends, it's 6 hours of a football game drinking beer. When you sometimes just stop by to have a drink, it's 3 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're at the bar, you're talking to the bartender, the guy comes in, your friends come in. Sometimes it's 8 hours, you know? I mean, if you really start looking at your watch, how much time. So one of the reasons why I've really contemplated setting it down myself was the time. What could I have accomplished if I'd have taken all that time and not done that, and I'd have done this, which like you have to do, like write a book where it requires just you, and you got to just be there by yourself. I mean, how much time? And that's really how I got to this conversation, and why it's really coming to a pinnacle is I've been like halfway to finishing my 4th book, and I'm not finishing it for some reason. And I find myself sitting at a bar for 4 friggin' hours going, if I'd have been writing all this time just for a week, I would have finished this book a long time ago. So that's kind of where I'm at. Look, you said you had to go 5 till the hour. We're about there. Tell us about the top books you've written on the subject so someone might find you.
Yeah. When you go to the link on Mitch's page, you'll go directly to my website. You can look at our book, Focus. It would be a great program for people that are trying to set a new goal. That book, Focus, was selected 2 weeks ago as the top 100 goal-setting books of all time. Wow. Mitch, it's the greatest award right next to Dale Carnegie. It's the greatest award that we've ever received. And then also we have free giveaways. You can sign up. We have a daily video program right on the homepage that when you sign up for free, every Monday through Friday, you're going to get a short inspirational video in your email box to start your day. So you can go to the website underneath with Mitch's program right here. You'll find it. Look for the book, Focus. Look for the free videos that you can get 5 days a week. There's a bunch of other free stuff, Mitch. We have a free meditation audio program there. Tons of free stuff at the website. And then if people want to work with me one-on-one, they can find out how to do that there from anywhere in the world if you want to be more successful or get sober or whatever the goal is.
Okay, so go to reinvestorsummit.com / and I'm just going to say sober, SOBER, reinvestorsummit.com / sober. Go there. Man, that book, Focus, to be ranked as one of the top 100 goal-setting books of all time, that's fantastic. If this is an issue that you've been struggling with thinking of or a challenge that you've been thinking of conquering, but you kind of had the same holdups, I mean, I'm definitely going to be calling Dave and have this conversation because this is what I want for me. It's a new chapter in my life. It's time to do something for me. I'm really going to try this. It takes me, I said I wasn't going to say all this stuff on this thing because it's very personal to me. It's very but I'll be transparent. I want to make a change. Like I said, my life has held up very good the way it goes, but I see where it could be better. And it's been a long time, and it's time to do something else. So go there, get the free stuff, reinvestorsummit.com / sober. And the reason why, again, guys, I brought this up is I'm just around a lot of AAA personalities, and some people have a harder time with this stuff than other people. Everybody could be better off, everybody, including me. And so I wanted to do this as kind of a community service announcement because I'm right there in the middle of a whole bunch of people struggling with this too, and I see it no matter where I go. Where I go all over the nation, I see it. So I thought, well, if a person has a different approach than just AA and telling yourself you're an alcoholic every day, maybe that's not working for you either, or maybe that rubs you the wrong way. There's another approach. Dave has a holistic approach that kind of works with the science of the mind that we know today that works, combined with the good stuff that works from yesterday. And he really got my attention when I was talking to him and he was telling me this stuff. And I thought, this little voice in the back of my head said, I need to bring this forward and put it out front. Maybe it'll help somebody. Hell, maybe it'll help me. You know what I mean? Maybe it'll improve my life. So I don't know how much more honest I can be about it. So
I love it, Mitch. Thank you for being so real for your audience. Thank you for being so real for your audience.
Well, one thing that I've never done is like when I went through the recession, when my brother committed suicide, I had this weird reaction to it. I didn't jump in a bottle. I set it all down. I get real sober when the chips are down because it's like I needed to feel that pain of my brother's death. I didn't want to mask it. I wanted it to pummel me. I wanted it to kill me, man, because it was killing me. But I didn't drink that whole time. During the recession, when I was having problems, I don't know what it is about me. I'm pretty sure it's not normal. I pushed all that stuff away. I wanted to focus, which is what a great name for your book. I needed to focus on what I needed to handle. What's happening right now is I have several big storms on my horizon coming. My parents are getting older. Those issues. My wife is 12 years into Parkinson's. I need to be present. I need to be present with all my heart and all my soul. And you get me choked up now. So I'm going to take a challenge. All right, Dave?
I love it, Mitch.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I want to thank everybody who's stopping by and get you some David Essel. Please go to reinvestorsummit.com / sober and get some free stuff over there. And if you're contemplating, at least have a free consult. It can't hurt anything. This has been really different today, Dave. Thank you very much.
Mitch, I've loved it. Bye now.